In cases like this, I find a single slash gets the job done much too quickly. You will dance with me until your last wheezy, obstructed breath.
Ah, at last, may I ask for one final thing gets back to its truest form. That of Scarlet just beating the ever-living snot out of everyone, and I am here for it.
Endure the centripetal force! Open gracefully like a bud blooming into a beautiful flower. Now our bodies and souls are as light as a... Allow me to show you. Put all your weight on your pivot foot and... Honestly, all that bravado and you couldn't last through one dance.
Hi there everyone, Lars here from Camille's Harem, a channel for novice authors by novice authors, because writing is an adventure, it's way more fun with friends, and holy cow, was this episode really a return to form for this show, in that we just get an abundance of hilarious violence. But really, it's actually more than just that, because there is some real intelligence that goes into this episode. And no, I'm not just talking about the incredible silly way in which Scarlet is able to overload a whole bunch of punches and have them be at one point in the past, then come in the future and just blow apart the Orc King. Yeah, that's anime nonsense. No, I'm talking about the politicking, because the real hero of this episode is Prince Julius. Let me explain why. After a brief opening in this episode where Scarlet very quickly susses out that Nanika has been controlled, possessed, influenced in some kind of way by Terenissa, she just donks him over the head, returns him to his sweet little wolf form, and takes him on over for a council of war. There, Prince Julius has worked things out in order to ensure that the Kingdom of Palestine is not besieged on literally every side imaginable by joining in with a quasi-alliance with the upcoming Prince of the Dragon Riders, again, whose name I cannot be bothered to remember. We shall just call him Prince Oafface. Prince Oafface, in order to ensure that he will get the proper backing necessary in order to ascend to the throne of his own kingdom, which is all based upon meritocracy, he wishes to gain a name for himself by battling against multiple armies and proving that he is indeed the strongest, while also gaining important allies within his own kingdom and a friendship with the Kingdom of Palestine. For as big of an idiot as this guy is, at least Oafface realizes that he needs to have opportunities and friends in high places in order to get what he wants. Also, he's mostly encouraged by just being as close to Scarlet as possible, so that way he can continue to relentlessly and fruitlessly hit on her. But coming back to it, Prince Julius is the one who effectively saves the day here by closing the deal with the Dragon Riders in order to cover one of their flanks against the monstrous hordes. Meanwhile, he has guaranteed that one of the other kingdoms will not intercede in this war. Already this means that the kingdom only has to worry about fighting on two fronts, which is already difficult enough as it is, but Terenissa's ultimate goal to completely overwhelm Palestine so that way she would be able to come in as the heroine and save everyone in some great, powerful, magnanimous, godly way, well, that has already gone out the window. Prince Julius has thrown a massive wrench into her plans, and now it's just simply a balancing game. He also ensures that Saint Diana's half-brother, Lord Dio, will go in and parlay with the Kingdom of Falconia. No, we're not talking about that Falconia. As much as I would, though, love for Scarlet to go and clock Griffith across the face and just smash in that beautiful, handsome physique and facade that this man has. No, let's be honest. Guts is the one who deserves to smash in that face. Also, I don't think that Scarlet would actually win in a battle against Griffith. Just gonna be honest there. So, again, Prince Julius is doing a great job sending in a delegation to deal with the people of Falconia, make sure that the demi-humans don't get involved, get the dragon riders to deal with the demons and the big monsters that are invading the country, and negotiating for another country to not get involved. Again, Prince Julius is the one who is ultimately saving the day here. Now, what is there for Scarlet to do? Scarlet just needs to be there to effectively to ensure crowd control. Go in and slaughter as many monsters as she wishes to her heart's content, which she does. And she quickly finds out that all of these dragon riders are definitely people she doesn't want to be around. Vikirish, or whatever the kingdom's name is, they're just definitely not her people. They are oafs. Hence Prince Oafface. And of course, it is great to see her teaching the ogres how to dance while bashing them around, basically going full Hulk on everyone, then to turn on the king of the orcs, who has managed to snatch a dragon out of the air. This guy is super powerful. He has been granted all kinds of abilities. He can also move his face and brain around in his own fat. Well, there's a flexing of fat that would make even the cat Garfield blush at. But as we see by the end of this episode, there is nothing that Scarlet can't punch into oblivion except maybe Griffith. And she manages to pull it off with the power of anime logic and physics. But the day is not entirely safe just yet, at least on her front, because the people of Falconia are not necessarily interested in peace. And this sets up then the conflict for the next episode as the war rages on multiple fronts. What can Scarlet really bring to the table in order to ensure peace? And this episode runs pretty quickly that way. And you know what? That's totally fine. After a lot of good character development, setting up some of the drama, the relationships, setting up the twists, activating the twists and everything, it's okay to then devolve into a bunch of teeth knocking and ringing of bells because, well, it is a story that focuses a lot on fighting and how Scarlet is often at the center of it. So it's living up to that. And for people who are like, man, this is moving kind of slow, this slowness was to set all of this up. So again, Scarlet can just kind of punch things and people to her heart's content. And we don't need to just keep on pulling up slavers and weirdos for each episode for her to just smash the snot out of because, well, that would actually get boring and convoluted really quickly. This way, all of these machinations, all of this politicking, what Terranis has been up to, the drama behind the scenes with a tsundere goddess and all of this, that's actually good stuff because it fits within the world building. It makes sense of all of these other characters that we've been introduced to. It helps to heighten the stakes, and it then puts into better context, well, where Scarlet is in all of this. And ultimately, what all of this does is it actually helps us to better understand what's going on as Scarlet just cuts loose. And because we understand what's going on, because we understand the stakes involved, we understand who's all involved in this, why people are where they are, and what it is that they're doing, once you understand all of that, it becomes so much more enjoyable. If you just dropped Scarlet randomly into the middle of a bunch of monsters and had her beat them up, sure, her monologuing is fun enough that it would be enjoyable, but really it wouldn't be memorable. It wouldn't be something to talk about at all, especially because, as I've been getting from some comments from people, they're like, yeah, the animation quality for this show is definitely not the best. And you know what? I agree with that. I've never said this show is so beautifully animated. No, instead, this show puts the budget where the budget belongs. And where the budget belongs is with Scarlet pummeling people into oblivion. So, that is... In order to set that up, in order to set up the crowning achievements of this story, that's why you need to take your time, slow down the pacing, introduce the characters that are appropriate to introduce, do the world building, do the politicking, do the scheming, do the relationship building, so that way it all makes sense. And that is something that everyone who wishes to write good action should bear in mind. This is one of the big things I harp on whenever I tell people, this is how you should write action. There's really nothing formulaic about writing a great action scene. There are people who swear that there is, but honestly, if you go by the formula, everything just becomes derivative, and then it becomes sloppy and lazy. Yikes, we don't want that. What makes action engaging is when you understand the characters, when you understand what led up to that point, when you understand the stakes involved and what the consequences are going to be afterwards. That is why it's so important to focus on the characters, focus on the world building, focus on the plotting, on the narrative, so that way when you get to the action, you can allow the action to shine on its own. And this is something that this episode does very well. After doing all the build-up, we can then have as much fun as possible with Scarlet just cutting loose. And that's what makes this episode so much fun and what kind of speeds it up. This episode definitely runs way faster than the last 3-4 episodes that we've gotten. And there's one other important thing to point out as far as the writing for this episode goes. It's a little bit subtle, but it's an excellent detail. And it is the relationship between Scarlet and Julius, which might seem a little bit silly because, well, the most that we got of Scarlet and Julius in this episode wasn't even the real Julius. It was Nonica pretending to be Julius. But again, here's the thing. We've had all this time to build up what the relationship is like between Scarlet and Julius, and there's a lot of teasing, there's a lot of misunderstanding going on there. Yeah, sure, we understand all of that. But there's also an understanding despite all the misunderstanding. There's a certain bit of kinship. There is an aligning of goals between the two of them and an understanding that they're both oddballs, and so they share something in common that no one else seems to have. While everyone else is either prim and proper or just a brute barbarian, the prince and the lady, are two very different individuals within their kingdom and amongst the other kingdoms as well. And so Scarlet and Nonica, like Nonica we know has got kind of a crush on Scarlet, but as far as Scarlet's concerned, look, you're just my fun servant, you're kind of my pet boy, which is like, Scarlet, are you sure you really wish to bandy about words like that in a society that doesn't want to enslave people? Something you might want to consider, gal. But as far as Scarlet is concerned, Nonica is just a fun younger boy that she finds to be highly useful, but also someone who needs the support and protection of a master. It's a master and servant relationship that's going on here, and Nonica doesn't stand a chance. We then have one of the royal knights who we know has a crush on Lady Scarlet, and while she gives him fine, fanciful words, they are the words of a chivalrous relationship. Nothing romantic at all. Chivalry is not romantic. I will impress that point until I die. Chivalry is actually not romantic. Chivalry is how you murder people. And the courteous side of chivalry is how you tame that murderous spirit within warriors. There you go. You have learned something very new today. But the relationship between Scarlet and the guards and the knights is that of a lady to warriors. It's like, I appreciate all that you do for the kingdom, and I will support your service to the kingdom in any way that I can. And to Prince Oathface, it's like, look, you're an ally, you're a nuisance, and if I could get away with it, I would clock you repeatedly and throw you across the horizon because you annoy me to no end. All of the other suitors for Scarlet are not the kind of guys that she's really interested in. And of course there is her brother, but no incest going on here. She knows that Diana's got a huge crush on her brother, and she loves her brother in the proper familial way. So we can avoid that particular ship. That leaves Prince Julius. And the thing is that she doesn't engage in the whimsical banter with Nonica when he's pretending to be Julius, because for one thing, she realizes that that's not Julius, that's Nonica right there, but also because that interaction is something that she reserves specifically for Julius. There's no one else who can have that kind of a conversation, that whimsy, that snark, that brutal banter with her. That is something reserved specifically for him. And so by getting to see her relationships with all of these other men, we very quickly get to see, if you're paying attention, that the only guy that Scarlet might be interested in is Prince Julius. How will that romance continue to potentially blossom? We'll just have to watch to find out. But I really like that. I really liked all of those subtle hints and comparisons that we got in this episode. It wasn't all just about the fighting, which I enjoyed the fighting, but I also really enjoyed seeing that. And again, that's something that you should think of as an author when you're writing your own stories. What kinds of subtle hints, or maybe not so subtle hints, can I drop here and there that help to progress relationships, progress certain plot points, pose certain questions, or answer questions that the audience might have had leading up into this point, while still focusing on the main stuff at hand. It's possible to juggle. You need to learn how to juggle in order to make your writing more engaging. So, with all that being said, those are my thoughts, my review, and analysis for the latest episode of May I Ask for One Final Thing. If you enjoyed this video, then please like, share, subscribe if you haven't already done so. That would help us out a whole lot. But one thing that would help us out especially is to check out the books that we've written. Links for all of them are in the description below. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining us on this incredible adventure that we call writing. And until the next video, y'all, tschüss.